I think that's enough waiting at this point. What do you guys think? Hi, everyone. Hi, guys. How's it going? Welcome. Hello. Welcome back to the stream. Happy to have you here. Um, for those of you just joining in, and hello, Velixion. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here. I am OA Lover, if you would like to know. I am a variety streamer. You typically play a bunch of different games, but I've had a lot of questions about D&D stuff over the past couple of months, so I was very interested in, you know, doing a bit of a Q&A type of thing. Valishion? Valworks? Valishion. Okay. Valishion. I'm hoping I'm doing that correctly now because that's actually really cool. I like that name. Or Val, Valishion. Um, but hello. Welcome, of course, to my stream. Happy to have you here. Oh no, this is not doing what I want it to. Audio. There is a. I have a thing playing right now that I want to be playing. There we go. I had music playing somewhere. Hopefully that is working properly. Um, but yeah, I wanted to go over D&D stuff for anybody who had, never gotten a chance to. Because typically, from my experience, typically people haven't gotten really be able to get into D&D either because they don't know anybody who's done it. They're afraid to ask anybody um, because there are still stigmas around playing Dungeons and Dragons. Unfortunately, at least from what I've noticed, um, where like they're afraid, oh, it's more of a nerd thing and whatnot. Rule one of D&D: at some point you will have to deal with or make a giant squid slaver that's all, yo, what's cracking? This is the plot. Don't make me start cracking. That's Oh, that's beautiful. We're gonna get along famously. Oh, that's fun. Um, but yeah. I I'm so used to hearing people say, "Oh God, I've always been interested in that." And honestly, sometimes even those people who say they're interested in it say that they're interested, but not interested enough to actually like push toward actually, going that far necessarily. Like taking that slight extra step, or they're not sure which way to go, and that's basically what this is for. And I have been advertising this stream for a little bit, so we'll see who shows up and who doesn't. But for those of you who are here, welcome. Happy to have you here. Welcome to my stream. If I start having some technical issues, I apologize. It does look like I'm having some frame rate issues, but it looks like it's evening out now, which is phenomenal. Also, if the music is too loud or not loud enough, please let me know. I can and will adjust it as necessary. It's actually the first time I've ever played music during one of my streams, and I'm hoping I have it set up properly to where it won't play on the VOD because that would be unfortunate. Um, Rule 2 of D&D: if you don't have the books, your library might remember borrowing is okay. It is. Is there any music playing currently? I just turned it up, so we will see. Yes, I have some lo-fi playing in the background for background music because most of the stream is going to be unfortunately mostly just me talking as well as showing stuff on screen eventually, but I'll get there. If you cannot hear the music, please let me know. You do. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Talry. And hello, Talry. I hope work wasn't too bad. Uh, I do like your rules of Dungeons and Dragons. They're fantastic. um, Anywho, so welcome everybody. Happy to have you here. Um, Once again, just for anybody who has happened to pop in the last couple of seconds or whatnot, I am OA Lover. I am a streamer here on Twitch. I am a variety streamer. My main game that I play typically is Phasmophobia, though I haven't played it in a little bit just because I'm waiting on the next update to come out. I've also been playing things like Sea of Thieves. I just recently started playing Elite Dangerous. I've played Among Us. I've played 7 Days to Die on the channel. I've played, oh god, a number of things. I did a full playthrough of the original Dead Space, which unfortunately the VOD for that was deleted before I started up my YouTube channel to, like, basically just save my VODs. Um, but yes, this is me. I don't really have a set streaming schedule. Oh no, Gamer Man incoming. Everybody take cover. Hi, Gamer. How are you? Happy to have you here. I hope you and Gamer Dad are doing fantastically. I appreciate the sirens, though. Makes me feel right at home during tornado season. Ask the DM if the local in-game library has a monster manual. We all grew up with books on common species that had interesting facts about the animals, and what Scout is complete without a handbook of edible flora and fauna. Agreed. I agree completely, Velician. Um, like that's honestly, like as a player, I've yet to actually get to play a ranger, but I want to play basic player's handbook ranger, and I specifically want to just have it set, like literally all I want to do with it is my animal companion. I'm not going to get a fighting animal companion. I'm going to get like a hawk or something, and I'm not going to have just one animal. I'm going to have my own freaking menagerie, like set up somewhere where I can just swap out animals on the fly. Gamer lands gently into the chat room. Hello, Gamer Dad and I are doing well. Violet says hello and hello to all. Hi, Violet. I hope you're doing wonderful, Gamer. I really do. Appreciate you showing up. Welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here. I have been planning this stream for a little bit because I was very excited about it because I'm very passionate about Dungeons and Dragons, and I have been rated by Girl of Diamond. Hi, Amelia. Welcome. I know I was just playing Phasmophobia with you about 30 minutes ago, but hello. Hi. Welcome, Raiders. Hi, Maddie. Oh, hello, Maddie. Um, you're still at work, Maddie. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's right. That's right. You're on Maddie's account. I appreciate the follow, Fluorescent Moon. Thank you so much. Welcome to the channel. Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome. How are we all doing today? Um, I will do intros one more time, just so everybody is on the same page. I said some good stuff about you. You said good stuff about me. Yay! I'm very happy. Thank you. You're awesome. Um, but I, once again, am Lover. I'm a variety streamer here on Twitch. I play a number of different games, and I get a lot of questions about when I talk about Dungeons and Dragons, mainly about how do you play, how do you start. I've like I hear the comment. I've always wanted to try that all the time. Hydrate. I will hydrate. Yes. Mm. So I wanted to kind of do like a tutorial slash Q&A setup with this, where anybody can ask me questions about anything you'd like to. Um, Also, I hope everyone can hear the music because it is the first time I've ever used music on Twitch, and I'm hoping I have it set up to where the VOD won't hear it because if the VOD hears it, I won't be able to save the VOD. So there's that. Um, Probably should have tested that ahead of time, but that's fine, I guess. Um, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Not a big deal. Be prepared for that DM. The one that when you ask to cast Find Familiar is like, Player's Handbook lists 50 gold as a pound of gold. A pound of gold is 20,000 US dollars. You need 10 gold for 4,000 USD worth of incense, herbs, and charcoal. Due to the dry weather, there is a burn ban. Are you sure you want to do this? That's amazing. And so much effort that I would never bother putting in as a dungeon master. Um, But welcome everyone. Happy to have you here. I have bought a thing that is well worth the price. What is your thing, gamer? Before I get started, the attention is now fully on you. What is your thing? I will wait. This is very hard. I talk on Twitch all the time. It's very hard just to sit here quietly, and I actually don't know if I can do it without going mildly crazy. But that's always fun, right? Yes. What is your thing that you have bought? Tell me, good sir, what is the thing you have brought to my domain? Anyway, we've gone all piano in the music. It's weird. Um, my frame rate is being a little wonky. I keep getting some stuttering. My You bought a $645 lightsaber. A $645 lightsaber. Why? I mean, it's really fucking cool, but that's a lot of money, gamer. Jeez. Oh, what are hot pockets and how long should I put them in the microwave? That is a trick question, Amelia. That is a trick question. The answer is you put them in, follow directions, ignore the time that the directions say. You put them in for about 2.5 minutes. After 2.5 minutes happens, you turn them over and put them in for probably another 2 minutes. And then one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to bite into it and burn yourself, or you're going to bite into it and the inside will still be cold. Just so you know. They're okay. They're pretty okay. They're good, like if you really just want something to eat, but that's what's going to happen. Um, yes, they are the poor person's trap. We shall say. That's very true. You do talk a lot. Okay, Towery. Okay. The fact that you've known me for the past 32 years means nothing. You don't know what you're talking about. Felician, plot twist: the lightsaber can dice through a titanium door in 30 seconds flat, 3 inches thick. That's pretty freaking impressive. All right, gamer, you're cleared. You're cleared. You are allowed to keep it. Fucking that's impressive. You want? I'll DM you the pics of it. I demand that you DM me the pics of it, gamer. Okay, okay. So, um, to what I brought you all here today for, which is the discussion of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm happy to have you all here. Um, actually made a list of things to go over just to keep myself kind of on task. And if you have any questions at any point, please ask. I'll get to them as I can. And we'll just kind of take it by ear as we go. So the first thing I want to answer is, and a lot of people don't know this, what is Dungeons and Dragons, or what is D&D? Dungeons and Dragons. I am aware that I'm almost 33. Thank you very much. Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game. Typically tabletop. Because of COVID, a lot of people have turned to online sources, but it's typically considered a tabletop role-playing game that you play with friends. The way it functions is there's typically one dungeon master and a number of players, usually ranging anywhere from one, and I've seen games with up to 10 players before, but I've never ran a game with that many, and I never want to. Um, D&D is make believe with math. Basically, uh, you the dungeon master or the players create player characters, PCs. They create characters that they control during the game. They control every aspect of what their characters do. They, for the most part, they control how their characters are feeling about situations, what actions their characters take, things along those lines. The dungeon master is there to facilitate the world that those characters. So if one player goes, well, what does that person at the bar look like? The dungeon master first explains them, what they look like, what that NPC or that imaginary made-up character is doing, and then the player can then react off the information how they feel. But the dungeon master does a lot more than that, literally creating a world that is played within your imagination. And it is a group storytelling game. You combine together to not only get into magical, epic combats and epic situations and fantastical moments, but also to tell an interesting story together. The story of the characters that you have created. It is a group effort, 100%. Um, you'll hear some people may say hear people say some things like, "Oh, it's players versus dungeon master," or the dungeon master is always trying to kill the players. Unless it's honestly a bad DM, which unfortunately happens, that doesn't really happen. Um, Typically, you're going to be in a situation where everyone is just trying to have fun and play together, and the rules are mostly there to one, provide you with some combat challenges, and two, provide a basis for the world to exist in, a foundation essentially. And that's essentially what it is. It sounds more complicated than it is, and it sounds easier than it is at the same time. And it's a ton of fun. It's something I've had an absolute passion for since the end of 2017. I haven't been a dungeon master very long. I've been a dungeon master since uh, uh, typically roughly the December of 2017, January of 2018. Um, The NPC looks like a blue-haired elf. No, its face is shifting and you hear bones crunching. She, no, he now looks like a tabaxi and is dropping something into a drink. You suspect a changeling. What do? You have 12 seconds or 2 turns before they disappear into the crowd. Exactly. That is exactly a situation you can find yourself in. Um, Now, typically, something a lot of people are interested in, and honestly, one of the biggest appeals to this game, and something I'm very bad about not doing all the time, is creating a character. And characters can come in a number of different shapes and sizes. And to do that, typically I'm going to go to something like D&D Beyond, which is a website you can go to. This is D&D Beyond, literally just dndbeyond.com would bring you about to this page here. It is a completely free website that you are allowed to use to see the base information that you can use to play the game. Um, and anybody can come to this website. You can fill out an account. You can come up here and create a character and use that created character to play the game. This website makes creating a character extremely easy. It allows you to surf different options like what races are available, what classes are available, what spells are available, as well as a number of other different things. And all of the things that you see here on my screen aren't it is for the most part all of the official stuff, but there's a lot of these things that, of course, you won't be able to get unless you buy some of the extra books. But if you decide to join, for the most part, you will get, at the very least, these top 9 races as a baseline to start off with. And that's what I'm gonna kind of look at here at the beginning. Um, so what I'll talk about now is like just the basics for creating a character, and I'm not as worried about stats right at the second. We can worry about that later because the books and whatnot all provide the stats for you. And D&D Beyond, because of the way the website is set up, it makes it so easy to actually just go in and just fill in some basic information, and it does all the math for you. It fills in the character sheet for you, so you never actually have to stop and figure anything out specifically. Um, like figure out what exact numbers are or exact certain aspects of it are. So looking at this here, and these are actually the old legacy races as they originally appeared. As you notice, and this is just kind of an offhand thing, you notice like the Dragonborn here gets +2 to strength, +1 charisma. They're actually changing that to where you can actually pick those stats to be basically whatever you want, instead of just a race having a very specific uh, way they were brought up. They want to make it very fluid, and you get to pick and choose exactly how your character was brought up and what they're good at. GamerDad, Breaker 8441. This is GamerDad rolling into the chat room. Can you read me? GamerDad. Hardest part to remember about D&D is 10 equals 0, 12 equals 1, and 8 to 9 equals -1. Yes. Um, but what I love about Dungeons and Dragons is the storytelling. And the storytelling is everything. I got back into Dungeons and Dragons officially in 2017 after I started literally binge watching episodes of a show called Critical Role. It is a show um, of a bunch of nerdy voice actors, like very well-known voice actors for anybody who knows anything about animation, or voice actors within animation, like anime and animated shows and whatnot. And they sit around a table and they create stories together, immersive stories that I have literally cried at because of how invested I was. And it was literally a bunch of people sitting around playing make believe. There were no animations on the screen. There were no things to go off of necessarily. It is literally a bunch of people sitting around talking together, laughing together, crying together, getting mad at one another, but all in character as if they were somebody else. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you need to be um, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be a great actor to be able to do this. One of my players in my own home game is my wife, and she hates acting for the most part. She hates the act of her actually going up there to act itself or role playing. And yet she still loves this game and comes back and continues to try it out herself. Because it's fun, because you're doing it with friends, because it's fun to act like those characters, especially if you get to where you eventually fall in love with those characters. D&D podcast, you mean old school radio? Gamerman, sorry my stream is lagging a bit. Dad thought it'd be funny to come into the chat like a trucker. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, my stream setup is not liking any of this right now at all. So that's fun. If the lag gets too bad, I'll see if I can figure something out, but I'll keep going for now. So like I said, D&D is about storytelling. And the thing I love to do is think of my character. I prefer, and there's multiple different ways to create a character, but I prefer thinking of everything my character has, every stat that they gain has some effect on their life, or their life has had an effect on those stats. And I like to think. So what if I wanted to play a, let's say a halfling here that's in front of us on the screen right here on the right, and that halfling, aka hobbits from Lord of the Rings, though don't let the Tolkien estate hear that or they'll sue me for copyright. Uh, um, it's literally for anybody who wants a backstory set up. They couldn't call them hobbits because the Tolkien estate sued them, so they had to change the name to halfling. Um, but what if I wanted to take it back? The hardest part of D&D is low intelligence, high wisdom characters. That admittedly is a hard thing to play, but say I wanted to play a halfling wizard. How did my halfling become a wizard? What where were they raised and what type of lifestyle were they raised? Why to become a wizard you need to have a high intelligence. You need materials and time spent and training done. So did halflings tend to be naturally lucky? So did they just kind of breeze through life very easily, passing through everything and learning how to do things as they went? Did they teach themselves because of their high intelligence? Or is it a case where they had a mentor? Did they go to some prestigious academy? And I can sit here and think, well, my halfling, Fizzbin bottle bagging, I don't know. I'm awful at making up names. Grew up in the west side of the city of Waterdeep in a slum where he stumbled upon a old tattered book one day that he became very invested in. And he began flipping through the pages and he kept reading. And the more he looked at, the more excited he got, especially when trying out some of the complex hand motions he saw inside the book. He made sparks appear just in front of his face out of nowhere. And continuing to work on that and teaching himself wizardry from literally point like the most beginning point you possibly could get. He eventually tried to get to where he was accepted into the nearby Wizards Academy, but unfortunately, he just couldn't get anywhere because he didn't have the money or prestige to get in, like a lot of the more affluent citizens of the city. But one day, while he was wandering through the city, he was attacked, and in a attempt to defend himself, he performed a marvelous feat of magic, a defensive barrier that he placed up in front of his attackers. And it just so happened that down the street, watching this entire endeavor, was a teacher from the academy who saw this, saw the talent that this single halfling from the slums had, and decided to take them into the academy on a full scholarship. And that is how my halfling be- got their way into the halfling academy. And now they're a couple of years pass and they're done with their training and they're off to make their way in the world. And that is where their story begins in the game. I made up all of that off the top of my head. Um, Halfling studied physics and discovered the code of the universe itself. Instead of freaking out It's all just simulation. They decided to break the simulation like a rogue program, a virus per se, basically. Um, but everything I just said about the halfling, whose name Fizbin Battleboggin, is that what I said? Um, I literally just made off the top of my head. I have nothing here. I don't know if you can see my notes very well, but I have nothing here that says anything about what I just said. It's all improv and using my imagination to fill in the details. Now, it's a little bit easier typically when you're playing with others because they'll give you things to work off of and give you ideas, and they'll approach your character and interact with your character, and you get to respond as that character if you so desire. Um, and I love the storytelling, um, like the storytelling potential of these games, because there are things that can happen in a D&D game. There are phrases I have said during a D&D game that I would never have said in real life under any circumstances, because like there's some things that happen, and it's fantastic. uh it's man, I'm nerding out a little bit, I apologize. Some ways people come up with character backstory ideas is they just think off the top of their head and they just make stuff up like that. Some people will see, like I have made a character specifically off of a single mechanic. In D&D, there is a mechanic called passive perception, meaning without actively looking, how much does your character just notice as they walk around? If it's really high, they would just notice things like much more often than other people because they're much more observant. I mean, I'm really attached to a character I made. Yeah, you become very attached to characters. But with becoming attached to characters, at least in my games, those characters can die. And after you've spent in real life sometimes years playing this one character, that character can die, or one of your friends' characters can die. Someone you've become attached to and your character has become attached to. And it's heartbreaking. It's terrifying. And it changes everything. It's like if someone next to you died who you've been around for, like literally fighting tooth and nail together, fighting giant monsters and dragons and delving through dungeons, toppling tyrants and kings, and yet they're just gone. And then that player shows up with their that character's long lost twin shows up with a different name but the exact same race and stats. Uh, or they create a completely new character, or through the use of magic in the games, that character is even brought back to life. But now they've got a shock of white hair, uh, like Rogue from the X-Men, and for some reason one of their eyes has gone completely dark and they have strange new powers. Never thought I'd say this, but who let the tabaxi out of the bag of holding? Here goes the hot pocket. Good luck, Amelia. Remember, 2.5 minutes on one side, about 2 minutes on the other side. They come back slightly unhinged. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's like playing Diablo 2 on hardcore. It kind of is actually. um, and I just love stuff like that. I love the storytelling potential. I love the shenanigans. In some of my own D&D games, I have watched players in the games that I run. An assassin attacked them in the middle of the city, in a back alley. The the player characters, the PCs manage to apprehend that character and then blind them, stop them from dying, and then carrying the dead person on their back, weakened at Bernied them across the city, basically pretending like they were just drunk and asleep on their back, so they could take them somewhere where they could be captured. And because they rolled really well on the dice roll to make it seem believable, that's what happened, and it was hilarious and ridiculous. I had something that is called a wild sorcerer, a sorcerer whose magic is out of control. Every time they go to cast a spell that normal sorcerers can do with ease, a random magical effect happens because their magic is not there's something not quite right with their magic, or because they just have so much inner magic bursting to come out that they can't control it at all times. And upon casting a spell at one point, they yelled, "I'm rich," as they went to sell something, and then it suddenly started raining 30,000 gold coins from the sky, and they had to quickly dive out of the way to avoid being crushed under the weight of all of it. Um, there's so many fantastical, amazing things that can happen as my players raced across the city attempting to escape an Illithid, a Mind Flayer dreadnought. Illithid Mind Flayers are these 6 foot tall, purple skinned creatures, completely bald, with giant eyes and tentacles across their face. Very similar, strangely, to Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean series. And as they're running from a flying dreadnought over the city, one of the players flies up, manages to make a mental connection with whatever creature is piloting this ship, and through an absolute force of will, tells it to turn off. And the rest of the party, as they're running away, watches over their shoulder as not only does that Illithid ship plummet from the sky down toward the city, crashing, killing who knows how many people underneath it, but saving the city from this Illithid ship. But they also watch as their friend passed out, falling from the sky from the mental exertion, potentially falling to their death. When the immature player role plays the fog spell as a fart, basically yes. Every bard ever. But like, there's just so many different potential things that could happen. And everything I just described, by the way, actually happened in one of my games. Those are things that have actually happened in my Dungeons and Dragons games, in my as a dungeon master with my other players, having all these things happen to them. Um, Different characters that I have created. My favorite character that I ever created is a character named uh, Beauregard Smith, or Bonnie for short, his friends called him. Mid 40s, ex military for the Neverwinter Army. He was given lead over his own unit of the army, but because of bad decisions he made, they were all killed, leading him to regress into himself, leaving the army, dropping into a life of alcohol, trying to forget what had happened because of the PTSD he suffered from it. And he ended up taking a job, just a basic protection job, where he fell in love and found a purpose through a divine entity that began giving him abilities for his fervent worship. And he began falling in love with one of the other characters, with one of his party members. He learned that he wanted to protect these people at all costs, but it wouldn't be so because upon attempting to rid the world of the evil of a wizard that was summoning the undead, he was turned to dust, disintegrated upon a single spell cast by the wizard. There's Oh, that was genuinely heartbreaking when that happened. That was my favorite character I've ever made. I miss Bonnie, but Bonnie ended up living on in a following game, but not as me as a player, but in my as a dungeon master. The game that I'm currently running on, that I run every Wednesday, his soul was somehow trapped within the sword that he carried, and the party, the player characters in that game, found that sword and began talking to him. In a weird way, he kind of lives on through the sword, but he has no body of his own. He can only go wherever he's carried, forever trapped that way, or unless the party decides to find some way to release him, which is up to them. It's not something I will force them to do. It's not something I will insist that they do. And if they never do it, then his soul will just remain there in the sword forever. Um, that one genuinely hurts. But yes, there's just so many different potential avenues, and I know I've had this screen up forever. Um, But how we doing on this side? Good. Stream's looking pretty good. Awesome. I'm still losing frames every little bit, so if you're having trouble with that, I apologize. I'm not sure what to do about it because my computer just does not like it when I have a window browser open, but I will see if I can mitigate it a little bit. I think I'm actually just going to have to close Discord for now. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that'll help out. Anywho, um, switching over away from the story aspect of it, let's just look at stats. There are, as you probably saw before, tons and tons of different types of races. You could be an Aarakocra, a bird person, a bipedal bird person who originally from the elemental plane of air, a plane consisting of mostly open, endless sky, floating islands held by these genie lords in different areas. You could be an Azamar, typically a human or some other race within the realm that somehow has divine magic or divine power or divine blood within them. I vote we either do changeling or turtle. Those are always good. Moving down a little bit, you could be, we'll say, an Earth Genasi, a creature that is a somehow an ancestor to a Tao, a powerful genie from the elemental Earth of Plane, a plane consisting entirely underground in some strange subterranean tunnel system that exists there. But they somehow were sired or are just past have bloodline somewhere back in their ancestry, leaving their body while looking human for the most part. Their skin rocky and cracked, their hair rigid. You could be a Goliath, a creature that they call their giants, their ancestors, standing 7, 8 feet tall, large, mountain, powerful people. There's tons and tons of different ways to play. There's tons of different races, and these are only the official ones. There are also what are called homebrew ones that people have either created or searched for, and whether or not they any homebrew ones or even a lot of the official ones are allowed in any campaign is up to the group that you're currently playing in. Um, so that's always something you talk about with your dungeon master ahead of time to see what exactly is going to be allowed within the game. So I'm going to go back up to the top here. Oh, come on, you. There we go. Other things you consider are the different classes. There's a number of different classes you can play. Whether you're a raging barbarian, a creature of strength and instinct that charges into combat, and the angrier you get, the more fueled you are during combat. You could be a clever bard who tricks people and entrances people with your words and your song, playing your songs in taverns to make a bit of gold, or using the force of your music to cast powerful spells against your enemies. A cleric, a person, individual who follows a deity, a god or goddess of some kind, that gives them power for their worship and allows them to heal the sick or turn divine might against their enemies. Sorcerers who are, whereas wizards have to learn their magic through practice and training, sorcerers are just born with magic inside of them, whether or not it was by an accident. Maybe they fell into a vat of acid, very much like a Batman villain, and somehow now they are able to use acid-based magic. Or maybe they were accidentally got too close to the elemental plane of fire and are now very proficient. Their skin permanently looking burnt, even if it was never actually burnt to begin with, and able to wield fire as if they're the greatest pyromaniac in the world. There's so many different routes and things that you can do with it, and different options and different possibilities. I have literally spent hours of my own life creating characters. Like as a reference, my characters. These are just some of the characters that I have played, as well as that I have just made because I want to play them, assuming this page ever loads. Uh, I I love I everything's just going like a really nice flow, and then there we go. Every single one of these creatures here, I have either played or want to play. Every single one of these is another character that I've used in some form or fashion or will hopefully use sometime in the future, and I create more of them all the time. As you can see, I've got 30 on this page right now, which is a lot. Um, and there's just a bunch of different things you can do with it. There's a bunch of different character options, and there's so many different ways I get so excited sometimes because I'll be at work and I'll think of this really cool character idea and I'm like, oh my god, what if I was a turtle, but I'm basically that turtle monk from Kung Fu Panda, but I have a really low intelligence but a really high wisdom, so I'm kind of dumb, but I'm really good at reading people for some reason, man. D&D is absolutely fantastic. And honestly, everybody's wanted to play. Is that Shifu? Is that the name of the character from Kung Fu Panda? I'm probably wrong. No, Shifu is Dustin Hoffman's character. Uruguay. Uruguay is the name of the turtle. Everybody has thought to make Uruguay before, but don't be afraid to make Uruguay. Don't be afraid to make your version of Uruguay. Hi, Sergeant Satan. Welcome to my D&D stream. How are you today? um, Master Uruguay. Yes, 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 yes. I love Kung Fu Panda. It's love that movie. Anyway, um, but again, don't be afraid to come to D&D Beyond and try these out. Now, I will be going over actually creating a character, and if you guys want, we will create a character together. Um, but I'm going to save that toward the end of the stream, just because there are a bunch of other things I kind of want to go over. But Sergeant Satan, if you have any questions about Dungeons and Dragons, if anyone has any questions about it that I may not have covered, or I didn't go over in enough detail or something, please ask them. Please ask them, and I will try to get your questions. Because that's what this is all about, just to help people understand how these work. I used to play. You should still play, friend. Like, please love this hobby as much as I do, because here's a good interesting segue. I am obsessed with this. I am obsessed with this hobby, and something I have been asked before is, do I need to buy all of the books and all of the dice and all of the accessories and all of the minis to play this game? If you play online, no. And if even if you play at a tabletop with people, you really don't have to then either, because most people are more than happy to share. But it's hard to find a group to regularly play with. It is. It is. Which actually, believe it or not, I have a solution to the trying to find a group to make it easier to play. But it's via online play, and I'll actually get to that later. I actually have that on my list. I have another tab for that actually set up right now. So something, and I'm going to actually switch screens here. As I said, do I need to buy all of these accessories and things to play? And when I say accessories, I mean, spell cards, books. This is going to take me a bit. Books, dice trays and dice that I can use to roll with, and books, 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 and DM screens, and books, and books, and books, and books, and dice that I've never even opened because I'm a glutton for punishment. More dice that I just have. Metal dice that I will never roll because they're pretty as all get out, but they tend to damage things that they land on because they're made of metal. Um, then more dice, more dice, more dice, more dice, more dice. And that's not even including other things because there are other tabletop accessories like this. This is a history of Dungeons and Dragons, art and arcana, and it literally goes through a bunch of like the history of Dungeons and Dragons from the very beginning back in the 1970s all the way till now. Uh, this is a small amount of dice to how much some people have. This is a starter set for Call of Cthulhu, which is another tabletop role-playing game. There's tons of different types of tabletop games. There's Pathfinder, which is a basically a spin-off of Dungeons and Dragons in itself. It's just owned by a different company, as well as a number of other different types. Um, I like Call of Cthulhu. It's all Eldritch horror, and it's most of the time it's based in like the 1920s, 1930s era. It's so much fun, um, including all the awesome music. And I don't know if I can get this set up here or not. There we go. As well as other things that aren't even like it's a pencil holder. That's all this is, and I love it. Um, okay, let me now I get the fun addition of putting everything back that I just pulled out. Uh, the click clack is good though. You can't blame him. It's so satisfying. Um, and all of this is great to have, but you don't need it to play Dungeons and Dragons. That's the best part. You can even if you want to have all of it, if you want to buy all these books, you don't have to buy the physical books ever. You could buy them online. As I mentioned with D&D Beyond, you can buy all of the books on that website if you wanted to, as well as others. Um, you want me to roll you a d20? I can do that. Oh, and I am going to use this, which is my Dungeon Master dice. Remember how I mentioned Critical Role before? I bought these off their website. I only use them when I'm a Dungeon Master. Rolling you a d20, I rolled a 3, which isn't very good. um, you don't need to buy all of this. Like there's so much though, and this isn't even like minis. So if you play in person, you probably did get fucked. Hopefully it wasn't a stealth check or a dexterity save. If you play in person, a lot of people play with minis, literally little figurines of their characters. And the great part about the figurines is because of technology advancing and things like 3D printers, they can be made pretty easily. And you can make those characters, those little minis, look exactly like what you want your character to look like, and you can move them around on a battle map. Swim save. There aren't any swim saves in Dungeons and Dragons, thankfully. Well, I mean, I guess you could say it's like a bad storm, maybe like a Constitution or a Strength save or athletics. It'd be an athletics check. Anyway, um, but but yeah, like I don't have any minis that are mine because I play all of my games virtually because I've never really been able to. I honestly, the main reason is I can't afford it. This isn't even all of the books, the ones that I just showed you. There are a number of other books that I don't even have yet. I want them. Oh, I want them, but I don't have them yet. But one day they will be mine. Um, so, an, something I do want to talk about is gotta have, yes. Something I do want to talk about is there's something called the Matt Mercer effect. So, if you happen to go online and you search for a D&D game to watch, to kind of learn by watching and emulating what they do, back had to play MTG with my neighbor. That's fair. Um, if you want to go watch a D&D game, if you go watch Critical Role, which I recommend because I love it and I'm not sponsored by them, please sponsor me. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. Um, then please do. Please go watch. Enjoy those stories that other people make. It's honestly one of my favorite forms of storytelling, if not my favorite. And I want you to remember that just because everything works a certain way in that game, it doesn't mean it works that way in every game. In Critical Role, the storytelling and the characters are absolute top notch because they're played by professionals. Yes, it's a completely unscripted show where everybody improvs every single thing that happens, but are able to create such good characters and stories because they are trained actors and actresses. So not every game's going to turn out that way. So whenever you go to play, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that not everybody has that level of practice and training behind them to bring to the table. But what they do have is the want and love to play. So just expect every game to be something unique that changes every time you play it. And if there's something that bothers you or there's something you think might work better, talk to your dungeon master, talk to the other players. Communication is key because it is a group storytelling effort. And if there's no communication, what's the point? Some DMs rule grease flammable, others not so much. Gonna be lurking? Fair enough, Amelia. Um, so this is this is a phenomenon called that the internet has affectionately called the Matt Mercer effect. Critical Role Dungeon Master is a voice actor named Matt Mercer, and his storytelling is some of the best I have ever seen. And so many people watch Critical Role, or they go to Dimension 20, or they watch a number of D&D games that are either on Twitch or YouTube, and they expect the games to be exactly like those. They expect the games to be the ridiculous high tier or high ridiculous comedy of Dimension 20 or Critical Role, but it's not really going to be that case necessarily. But that doesn't mean the games aren't good. That doesn't mean you're not going to have fun with it. It just means that we're not all trained actors. I'm not trained in any way. I'm not being paid by Wizards of the Coast, the owners of the Dungeons and Dragons property, which is also owned by Hasbro. Though, if you want to sponsor me, I am here. I am here. I'm happy to help. It'll be fun. Um, and not every table is going to be for every player. But always go in understanding that you're there to have fun and you're there to create a story together. Um, so something that else that I have been asked for, and this is a big one to be honest, is how do I go about searching for a game? Because nobody I know has the time to play, especially if we're adults. Like as a kid, I wish I could have gotten into Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid because I had so much more time to play. But as an adult, it's hard. Life happens. You have to worry about work and bills and your home life and your family and everything else that comes with that. What way do I play? Where you can, with some effort, get a group to play together in person, or you can do what I've done and play virtually. Find a virtual tabletop, a VTT, to play on. The one I personally recommend is, and the one I've had the most experience with, is Roll20.net, which is here. It's literally just called Roll20.net. You can go there. It's free to create an account. Once you create an account, you can go to the homepage, go to games, go to join a game, and once you're here, you could search for different types of games to play. And as you can see, every single one of these things that I'm scrolling through is a different type of game that could be potentially played on this website. But I'm specifically looking for D&D 5e. That's probably something I should have talked about. Dungeons and Dragons is in its 5th edition. The original edition came out in the 1970s when the game first started, created by Gary Gygax and his group. And it evolved from there. From there, they created 2nd edition, 3rd, 3.5. They created Advanced D&D 2e. Have fun lurking, Satan. Um, they went on to 4th edition, and then around the 2014, I believe around 2014, they created 5th edition D&D, which is hands down the most popular Dungeons and Dragons edition and the easiest to play. So we're just going to focus specifically on 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which I've put into the thing here. Um, then I can go by relevance, Matching, let's see, only find games that welcome new players. If you're a new player, you can show games with mature content if you so choose or not, and only find games that are free to play because some people actually have people pay to play their games, which I've honestly always found is a strange thing, but whatever they want to do. And then you can ignore gaming groups for the most part. Something I will also do is you can go to advanced search options and you can actually search by days of the week. If you're free Wednesdays and Thursdays, um, you want to do a role playing game, you want to do text only, that's a thing. You can do voice or voice and video. If you can search specifically by voice only if you never want to show your face to anybody else. You can search by language. You can search by English, Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese, German, Russian, or other. You can look for it to be played only one. You could look for what's called a one shot, just a one off game. You can look for games that are played weekly. And even then, you could say you want a game that starts at approximately 8 p.m. So you can go to Find Games, and then it will show you, once it loads, games that start within that time frame or close to that time frame that you have posted. And it allows you to search for games. It'll be with complete strangers, yes, but I have made some of my best friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. I have a friend of mine I've been playing D&D with since I started playing the game I played with my character Bonnie I mentioned previously, who I've been playing with her for a year and a half, and I love her as a player. I love her as a person. She is a fantastic person and one of my absolute best friends. But this allows you to meet people, play with people, experience these, and it allows you to search specifically by like what time frame you have available. Most of these, I'm not actually going to click on any of them, but most of them will do they'll do like an application process. What that means is they'll be like copy and paste these questions that I posted and answer them in like a post under this page. That way they can get a feel for what type of person or player you are. And since we post only find games that welcome new players, if you're new to D&D, that's perfect for you. That's a great way to learn to play. And any DM that welcomes new players is going to know ahead of time I should be playing a game and focusing on making sure my players know how to play. And it's fantastic. I've played a number of games via this system. I am currently in a game every Saturday, where I've been playing with that same dungeon master for about a year and a half now, through two separate games at this point, because I enjoyed his first game so much, he wanted to run another game, and I just stuck around because his game was fun, and me and one other player have been there playing together for a year and a half under this same dungeon master. Um, it's phenomenal. It's great. It's so much fun, the different things you can do. I 100% recommend Roll20.net as a great way to search for games that it's not necessarily with all of your friends, but it's a great way to get everybody together. Now, if you're wanting to use it to get all your friends together, say you can't get all your friends together in person, because honestly, that tends to be the biggest hangup when it comes to D&D. You can find a correct time. You really can't find a correct time where you can drive to each other's houses, though. You can actually create games on here and have your friends play with you virtually. Or, one of your friends can decide to be a dungeon master and play a game. These are all games that I am either in or have done. This is my old campaign that I ran, my first one, the one that ran for 3.5 years of real time. This is the one I'm currently playing that has been going for nearly a year at this point, and this is the one that's been going for about 6 to 7 months. But it's the dungeon master that I've been with multiple times, and it's simple to go into and play. I will give an example by actually going into my old game. Um, And like I said, all of this is free. And one of the best parts is if your dungeon master owns all of those books virtually on Roll20, they give you access to that information for when you're creating your character so you can more easily have all of those options at your fingertips. It's probably going to take a while to load. I apologize. Actually, my computer might just give up entirely because of Roll20. It just doesn't like Roll20. Frames a lot, so that's fun. Um, come on, come on. No, oh, oh, it finally did it. This is a map I had set up. Remember the Mind Flayer Dreadnought I said crashed down onto the city? This is what it looked like. These are what the player characters' tokens were. This is what their characters looked like in game as they ran across the city away from this giant ship. And it's so easy to use. Like you can roll dice on here. I just rolled a d20. I rolled a 7. If I need to roll 3d6, so basically three six-sided dice, because there are dice of various sizes, which honestly is something I could talk about. There's what are called d4s, or what those of us in the D&D industry called don't step on or it will hurt too much. It's a four-sided die. There's a six-sided die, which you'll find in any Monopoly game. And I just dropped it and rolled a 4. Good job, me. Um, there is a eight-sided dice, which is basically like a little double-sided pyramid. There's a 10-sided dice. There's also 10-sided, but not technically a 10-sided dice. So 10-sided dice, and then there's a percentile dice, meaning if I roll like this, I roll 10. And then if I roll a 4 on the 10-sided dice, that means I rolled 14. That way you can roll technically 1 through 100 by just rolling these two dice. There's a d12, which is the most underutilized die. And then the most important dice, the one that you will roll the most often, is what is called a d20, a dodecahedron, a 20-sided die. Um, you can create characters on this website. There are a myriad of characters and info that I have put on here over the 3.5 years that I played. There is a Roomba playing in the background or running in the background that is probably going to be too loud here in a minute. um, but Roll20 really does make it easy for people to get together, even if you can't do it in person, even if your friends can't find that time to drive to each other's houses. You can just get on your computers and play, and it's easy to do. Actually, I'm going to close this just to make this a little easier. Um, so let's go back here real quick. That's the easiest way to get a game going whenever you need. And I can't recommend it enough. I really can't. It's saved me so much trouble and it's made my game so easy just to be able to get together to attempt to play a game. Because one of my players lives in Chicago in the United States. Two of them live in South Georgia. I live in North Georgia. I have another player that lives an hour away. It's impossible for us all to meet together once a week, but because of Roll20, we can play together. Uh, so, how's everyone doing? I hope this hasn't been too meandering. Mm. My throat's starting to hurt from talking so much. Which is funny because, I'm a streamer. um, but, well, with all that said, um, I don't actually have really much of anything else at this point to go over, except I kind of want to create a character with you guys. Drink water. I did drink water. Yes. Um, but I kind of want to create a character with you guys. We will just sit here, create a character, and D&D Beyond truly makes it really easy. I whereas if I go by the books, it could take me upwards of an hour to create a character. But if I use D&D Beyond, I can have a character created in 5 minutes, especially since I've got so much practice at it, and I can just quickly flip through the different options and whatnot there are. Um, so with that being the case, let's go to the character builder. So it allows you to make a randomized character, which I think is really cool. You can just completely randomize your character. You can do a quick build with recommended starting options, or you can do a standard, which is just build step by step. So we're going to turn on some of these. We're going to turn on optionals. I'm not going to really worry about the rest of this. And everyone be thinking about a name that this character should be. Like, what should we name it? What should we name them? Should they have multiple names? Should they have a moniker that they go by? What do you think? But we'll get there. So from there, you want to pick what race your characters are going to play as. And there are a multitude of different races that they could potentially be. Does anybody have any type of preference? Um, Anything from the flying Aarakocra that were mentioned before, the Godblood Azamar, the Air Genasi, from the elemental plane of air, descended from genies of different types. Centaurs, changelings, which can change their shape at will. Gnomes, which are small 2 foot tall creatures of magical nature. Dragonborn, humanoids that have the outward appearance of a dragon but walk on 2 feet. Dwarves, elves, fairy people, uh, Githyanki. There's so many different ones. A changeling, Talry? I think a changeling's a good choice, and you're the only one who's answered at this point. Um, but there are a number of others as well, just to kind of flip through. Goblin, half-elf, half-orc, halfling, Harengon, which is a rabbit person. Um, Basic humans. If you really want to play a race that it's easy for you to identify with, just play a human. Kenkus, kobolds, lizard folk, a Medusa, a Minotaur, orcs, satyrs, sea elves, Tabaxi, a 6 foot tall cat person, tieflings. Whereas Azamar have god blood inside of them, tieflings have ancestry or a bloodline of demons and devils. Yuan Ti, snake people, just a multitude of different things. But so far, changeling seems to be the only thing in chat at the moment. Changeling, boop. So I'm actually going to change one thing. Cat person, cool. Yeah, tabaxis are really cool. So here it says they start with basic stuff. I'm actually going to go to Origin Manager and change their starting ability scores so we can change those to whatever we want. So we'll get to that in a minute. So they are a shape changer. They can change their height, weight, um, how they look. They can change into any other person that they've ever seen. But they can't do something like grow extra legs. It still has to be a humanoid form. They get to pick. They start off knowing the common language, literally called common. Um, and they can pick different languages that they just happen to know. For some reason, our changeling is going to know Elvish and we'll say Dwarvish, basic common languages that they may have picked up in their life. Two skills that they may have. They're changeling. They try to hide the fact that they can change into anybody because people are potentially afraid of them because they might infiltrate a society. So they need to lie often, as well as possibly persuade people that they're not who they are or what people are afraid they are. So then you want to look at a character's background. What type of background do they come from? Are they an acolyte? Are they a follower a follower of some deity that was raised in some monastery somewhere? Are they a charlatan using their changeling abilities to trick people and con people and make money in any way they possibly can? Are they a criminal or a spy living on the streets? Are they a failed merchant? Did they fail to make any money off of the things that they were selling and eventually go broke and now trying to find a way to make ends meet by becoming an adventurer and killing monsters for hire? Are they a hermit? Have they been living out in the woods because they're afraid of society and they are just now emerging to make their way in the world? Are they a pirate? Are they a sailor? Are they a soldier, an urchin, a bounty hunter? A number of different options that could possibly be good character here. Pirate? Okay. So we have a changeling pirate. So they have a bad reputation. No matter where you go, people are afraid of you due to your reputation. When you're in a civilized settlement, you can get away with minor criminal offenses, such as refusing to pay for food at a tavern or breaking down doors at a local shop, since most people won't report your activity to the authorities. From there, you can decide what their physical characteristics are, but they're changeling, so that's going to change. Their character details, like their faith, the level of lifestyle that they lead, or even their alignment. And the alignment is an interesting thing because these are the alignment options that are here on the screen. The alignment is a system that was created with the original D&D, and it's something that 5th edition has been slowly moving away from, but it's something that's always been so ingrained in the hobby that you almost can't help but talk about it. The idea is this is the basic type of person, like the basic overarching theme that your character is. Are they lawful? Do they follow the law? Or do they follow some strict moral code that they have? Are they chaotic? Do they do whatever they feel like doing in the moment? Are they good or are they evil? Are they true neutral, meaning are they in dead center, or are they some mix of one of these different types? If you're chaotic evil, you're the Joker. You're chaotic. You do what you want because you can. You have no rhyme or reason for doing things, you just do them. Are you lawful good? Are you the upstanding citizen who always does what's right, always follows the letter of the law, reports things, and if you have, like, you always just try to make sure you're doing the proper thing based on society? Are you chaotic good? Are you a good person to the core, but you feel like the law is a hindrance sometimes because they really can't get things done if they don't, break that law just every now and then? Do you always do what's right no matter what it takes? I like the alignment system. I like the legacy of the alignment system, but I don't use the alignment system to dictate how my character works. My alignment changes depending on how my character acts. And that could have potential consequences in a game, at least in my game. We're going to say chaotic neutral for now. It's typically, most people call it chaotic stupid because it can be very easily. We're going to say chaotic good. Chaotic good. We're a good person at the very least. That's Being a pirate is at least a starting point for being able to figure out where our character came from. So let's go over to class. What type of class should we be? We're a shapeshifter, but that doesn't have to define the chosen path that we have followed in life. We could be a wizard, someone trained in the ways of magic. Sounds more like me. That's fair. You could be a warlock, someone who has, whether in a fit of rage or desperation, or just because you were curious, made a deal with some strange entity in the cosmos for some power in return for some favors. Are you a sorcerer, someone born with magic inside of them, who can literally scream at the universe and the universe obeys? Do you want to be a rogue, someone who hides in the shadows, who waits for the opportune moment to attack, who is quick-footed and is able to break into buildings as well as pick locks and open up traps? Do you want to be a ranger, someone who travels the countryside as a warrior and is a protector of nature and the forests and the natural world? Double checking real quick. Cool. Do you want to be a paladin? A paladin is a warrior, a holy warrior, a warrior who has devoted themselves to the tenets of a god and will fight tooth and nail to uphold them because because of the oath that they have taken. Are you a monk, someone who has studied the ways of martial arts, the study of the inner your inner chi to focus your body and become better at utilizing your body as a weapon? A fighter, someone who is good at the use of any weapon, any armor, any possible weapon you pick up could become a deadly instrument in your hands. A druid, a creature basically what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my god. Basically existing to fulfill the will of nature, being able to shapeshift into different animals to hide themselves and blend in with nature itself while calling upon nature with your magic to destroy those who would destroy the natural world itself. A cleric, somebody who is just a devout follower that can heal, help, bolster, as well as destroy enemies. A blood hunter is actually a custom class from the world of Critical Role, which I've mentioned previously. A person who understands that to destroy evil, sometimes you have to invite evil into yourself. A bard, someone who uses song and word to strengthen allies and destroy enemies. A barbarian, a creature of instinct and rage that charges into combat, hitting as hard as you can with reckless abandon. Or an artificer, an intelligent person who likes to tinker and fiddle with things and create constructs out of different materials and potions and things to help aid your party as well as fight the enemies. What type of class should we play? What do you guys think? I know I just went through like the entire, class list here, but yeah, it's a lot. But I see rogue and a druid. Any other takers? Any possibles? Excuse me. That is just not working for me. I apologize. I was also getting messages at the same time. But I've seen rogue and a druid. Any specific? Should we go rogue or druid? What do you think? A rogue changeling or a druid changeling? They all have possibilities. Oh yes, they all always have possibilities. I'm going to have to close the door to my room before the Roomba comes in here. Here we go. All right, I love having a cordless mic. There we go. All right, I have returned. So, druid. So we are going to be a arbiter of nature. So druids at level 1, they can wear light armors, but druids never wear metal because it's not natural. They can use basic weapons, even some metal weapons, but they never adorn themselves with the metal. They can only use it as a weapon in times of need. They're spellcasters, they're magicians, but only using the forces of nature itself to combat their enemies. A druid typically would be good at something like animal handling. They're very good at dealing with animals and uh, just dealing with animals. I don't know how else to say it. They're also very good at survival or nature. They're very good. They're very knowledgeable in the ways of nature. So it makes sense that they would know how to do that. I'm going to ignore all of that. For their spells, and this is going to be a little confusing because there's so many spells. I'm just going to pick a couple. We'll say this druid is very good at summoning the bugs out of the earth around an enemy to not only damage them by having the bugs attack them, but as well to make that enemy jump away from them in an attempt to get away from this. And they're also good at causing thorns. They pull out a small flower off their belt, which instantly transforms into a whip made of thorns that they then use to wrap around an enemy and pull them toward them. And now the last two things we need to look at is what type of stats do our characters have? So we're going to use something called standard array, or we're going to use point by. Now we'll use standard array, it's easier. And we did get stats earlier. Now, as a druid, our main stat that you need for your spellcasting is wisdom. The higher your wisdom is, the better your spells become and your druid related abilities become. But we don't have to do that. You never have to min max a character to max the best stats and minimize the stats you think you're going to use the least. If you don't want to, if you want to make a druid that has a not maxed out wisdom, because they're just very smart and you think the character that you have in your head is just very intelligent, you can put those points into intelligence if you want to. For now, I'm going to say we're going to put points in wisdom, just because we can, and we'll put them in constitution. The main stats of the game consist of strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Strength is exactly what it sounds like, how physically capable your character is. Dexterity is how fast and agile they are. Constitution, how hardy they are, how many hit points they have, how much pain they're able to tolerate. Intelligence, how much book learning, how much intelligence, how much raw information they're able to maintain at any point. Wisdom, their almost natural ability to be very insightful or perceptive of the world around them, and charisma, whether that be their ability to talk their way through a crowd or even to intimidate their enemies into doing what they want them to. So, with that, I am just going to assign some basic stuff for now, just to kind of speed this along a bit. We're going to say our changeling is not very strong. We're going to say pretty dexterous. We're actually going to make this a 15. Just they're going to have a decently high intelligence, and they're not very charismatic because they've spent all of their time out in the woods. Which will give us this stat array. See, as you noticed, it fills in all of this for you, which is fantastic. And from there, you can go to equipment. And for equipment, it just gives you some options if you just choose equipment. And we're just going to pick a few things and go from there. We will take a quarterstaff. We walk around with a staff in our hands. We have a wooden staff specifically that acts as our spellcasting focus. And we'll say we carry around a lucky rabbit's foot with us. I'll go ahead and equip a few of these things just to have them on. And then you click here, and what this does is it fully fills out a character sheet for you. And this is, for the most part, what it's going to look like in most renditions of it. It'll tell you all of the stats you're really good at. If someone says, oh, you're trying to calm this horse down that's gone rampaging, make an animal handling check. And I could click right here, and it'll roll for me. And I rolled a 16 plus my bonus of 5, which became a 21. If you want to make, say there's a boulder falling down a cliff toward you and you need to get out of the way, the dungeon master calls for a dexterity saving throw to see how fast you can get out of the way. You can roll a dexterity saving throw. I unfortunately rolled a 6, meaning there's a decent chance that that boulder fell on me. If the dungeon master says, you're about to be attacked, what do you want to do? And your first thought is, I want to use my whip made of thorns and pull that enemy in closer so I can get a better hit at them. They could say, roll to try to hit them. You click here, and I just rolled a 16 plus 5 as you pull out the flower out from your where it's attached at your belt. As you throw your hand out, you watch as it magically transforms into this long thorn whip, wraps around them uh, suddenly as they weren't expecting it, and pulls them in closer toward you. And it even does damage because of the thorns on it. And the dungeon master would say, then roll damage. How much damage did you do? 5 points of damage as the thorns dig into their body. And this will show you all the basic things that you can do, all of the abilities, the racial abilities, the feats that you may pick up that enhance your character further, the spells that you have prepared, all of the things that your character currently carries on them, including how much gold they have, is all right here. It's all just that easy. now I am about at the end of what I have prepared for this stream, and I thank you so much everyone for joining me. I really do. If anyone has any questions, please ask, because that's why I'm doing this. I want to help people learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I want to help people get into this hobby, and I'm more than willing to do this again in the future, or even just point people toward this VOD in the future if I need to. But I enjoy this. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that I've enjoyed doing for the past 4 years now. More than 4 years, nearly 4.5. And I hope to keep playing. I've devoted time, effort, money into it, and I've made so many memories. Some good, some heartbreaking, playing this game. Uh, yeah, I need some water. But thank you so much for joining me, everybody. This has been a lot of fun for me, actually, as I've kind of gone over all of these different avenues and aspects. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to send me a shout out on my Discord or even via Twitch, or if you can find me on TikTok. I'm happy to answer. Actually, specifically on TikTok, almost every video I've ever posted has been involving Dungeons and Dragons because I love it. I do. I genuinely enjoy playing this game. And I hope for more and more games that I get to sit and laugh and cry and enjoy my time with my friends playing it. Uh, but yeah, thank you for joining me, everybody. This has been a ton of fun for all of you who have shown up and shown support for it. Um, and I appreciate you all. I wish you the best of gaming, the best of luck. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.